Welcome everybody to today's 1 Million by 1 Million public roundtable for entrepreneurs. Most of you who've been tracking the program probably know that the 1 Million by 1 Million program is a virtual incubator with the goal of helping 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million in annual revenues by 2020. We are only going to be successful if you are successful in building your businesses. So we are always looking for serious entrepreneurs who have the work ethic and the resilience and the nerve to do a successful entrepreneurial journey, which by no means is easy. And my favorite quote on that is, entrepreneurship is not for sissies. So today we are working with WITI San Diego, that's Women in Technology in San Diego. It's the San Diego chapter, but Women in Technology is a national and international organization actually. So the entire roster of presenters today are women. So it's our 124th roundtable. We've been around for a while, and lots of entrepreneurs have participated in these sessions, and looks like they find these sessions helpful. Now, before we jump into the entrepreneur presentations, I want to share with you an opportunity that two of our partners, corporate partners, BlueSnap and Elance, are awarding 12 1M1M scholarships, and each of those are $1,000 annual membership fee, fully covered by the BlueSnap Elance partnership. And the businesses, the kinds of businesses they will be supporting through this program are digital commerce and subscription businesses, so software as a service, gaming, various kind of content subscription or software subscription, or digital transaction businesses. So it's a variety of different kinds of businesses, but within the domain of digital commerce and subscription. So if you're interested in that, the URL is on your screen, and Maureen can perhaps give you the URL in the public chat as well, and you can go there, learn more about this opportunity, and also apply for the scholarship. Now, if you're live tweeting the show, or if you're following the live tweets, you're welcome to follow us on @1M by 1M or @Sramana, and if you're live tweeting, please use the hashtag 1M1M. With that, we're going to jump into the presenters. Felina Hansen is our first presenter. Felina, over to you. Hello?
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry about that.
We thought we lost you for a moment.
No problem.
So tell us, what are you doing?
Yes, so I am the founder of Hera Hub, and we launched in August. If you want to go ahead and advance the slide, I'll talk a little bit about what it is. So we serve female entrepreneurs. We launched in August, and we've been incredibly successful. We've got 140 women-owned companies that work out of the space. And co-working is the model, and has certainly grown in a number of cities, but there are not many co-working spaces specifically targeted to female entrepreneurs. So co-working, of course, fills that void between working at home and working at Starbucks or working in an office or executive suite, which is quite isolating. So the twist on this, again, serving female entrepreneurs and providing a very safe, nurturing community, but we also call it spa-inspired co-working. So it's the environment is very, very important. So a place that women are comfortable to be and be productive, but also to connect and find opportunities to grow their business through connections and networking. So we primarily serve solopreneurs or freelancers, independent contractors. We have a number of nonprofit organizations that are members, as well as authors. And our primary segments, our members are professional service-based, so CPAs, attorneys. We've got segments and some of the women this morning that are presenting in technology and then also in product development. So go ahead and advance. Thank you. So our customer acquisition model is primarily networking. It's word of mouth. We support a number of professional women's organizations in San Diego, including WITI, Women in Technology, Women in Science. Some of the groups we support are industry-specific. Some are more general, such as the National Association of Women Business Owners. And then we support a number of nonprofits that also support women. Women Run is an organization that helps women and supports them in running for political office. So it really has been, again, we just launched August 15th, but it has been truly word-of-mouth connections, networking that has grown us to where we are. So go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. So our success thus far, so we were profitable in 3 months. As I mentioned, we've got 140 members in just 8 months. We are in the process of launching the second location, hopefully online July 1st, and then the third location at the end of the year.
All and San Diego?
Sorry? Yep, all in San Diego. So geographically, excuse me, they're about 20 minutes apart from one another. San Diego's pretty spread out.
What is the space leased space, or do you own the space?
Yes, it's lease space, yeah. So eventually I may look to the model of purchasing, but I wanted to prove the model before I did that. So for now, leasing space. And how do we create community? It's really through a number of ways, and you know, very good at connecting our members and making sure that they're, you know, feeling that sense of community, if you will, but also we have gurus that we highlight, subject matter experts that donate their time to give back to the community. We do special classes and workshops, and then we have lots of member-only events, so member lunches, happy hours, just ways to connect and continue to support the community. We've gotten some great press. We've been highlighted in Inc. magazine as one of the 16 coolest co-working spaces, as well as we've gotten loads of local press. And then the last slide here is my visual business plan, if you will. So this year, again, we'll come online with 2 additional locations, and next year the plan is to start franchising. So I've talked to a good number of folks in the industry, feel strongly that I have a good model to franchise. And the goal with franchising and the reason franchising versus company-owned locations is I am not the woman to do this in Denver or Portland or Chicago. It's the woman that leads a female entrepreneurial community and can really layer on a floor, so to speak, a platform for her as she continues to support and grow her community. So the goal is 200 locations over the next few years, and then likely sell somewhere around 2016, 2017 to probably a competitor or a larger company, perhaps an executive suite company that has been trying to get into the co-working game but can't do it because it is about community. And I've got a lot of educational aspirations in regards to helping specifically female entrepreneurs, and I'm rolling that out under Hera Hub as we speak as well. Okay.
So what are your questions?
Question is primarily I'm really looking for mentors. I've self-funded this. I will continue to self-fund it as long as I can, maybe, you know, bring in some closely held private investor, or, you know, private investors, so to speak. But question is, I'm looking for mentors. I'm looking for folks that have been down this road before and can, you know, perhaps provide advice as I go into new territory. I've never franchised. It's a new learning curve for me. So that if there's connections or mentors or folks that you might recommend that I speak with, that's really the primary. And or if you've seen anything like this before and there's any landmines or roadblocks that you might be willing to share with me based on your experience, I would appreciate it.
So, you know, the most famous one of these, like you said, office space companies is Regis.
Yep.
And See, my observation on all this is the real estate part of it, which is largely commodity.
Yes.
So how do you add value? And we've done a lot of analysis on what's happening in your positioning is pure co-working. I guess our observation is more from the perspective of business incubation and mentoring at a larger scale, basically, not just mentoring you, but mentoring all the people that are in your community and how they build their businesses.
Yes.
So we have looked at this problem from business incubation point of view, and our observation is that really the actual physical co-location can only take you so far. You really need to add, more content on top of it and services on top of it to make it unique and make it differentiated.
Yes, absolutely. So
we are actually with 1 million by 1 million. We are working with physical incubators in various parts of the world, and we basically layer on a lot of that content and ecosystem onto the more physical services.
Yep.
Includes the mentoring, which includes the connections and the it's kind of you plug in an ecosystem in a box that gives you access to a much deeper network of business connections, essentially. So I would recommend that you look into what we are doing with other incubators, so to speak, even though you're not exactly an incubator, you're a co-location space, but I recommend that you speak with Irina, and I don't know if you've run into Irina yet. She's probably in the room. Yes, Irina is in the room. She can give you her contacts, and she can give you some case studies of where we are working in what mode, and I think you can learn a lot from that experience.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Next presenter is Anjali Cameron. I'm going to skip your middle name. Tuljapur.
Yeah, you said it better than I say it. So my name is Anjali Tuljapur Cameron, and thank you so much for your time. My background is in marketing, and I have a passion for travel. And when I moved from the Bay Area to San Diego last year, that led me to found TripLark, which is a site that aims to simplify the vacation planning process. So essentially, the consumer pain point I'm trying to address is that while travel is really fun, planning a vacation is actually pretty hard. The New York Times last Sunday talked about this process where a lot of folks feel that researching travel online is tedious. They experience something called information overload. For several people surveyed, it can take more than 5 hours to search and book travel online. So the solution I've presented is TripLark, which is unique, curated travel plans written by travelers and businesses to showcase the best ways to spend your time in a destination. So where to stay, what to do, and what to eat for your budget and interests. And I believe this solution can generate revenue. The market for travel planning is large. Last year, 93 million Americans used the internet to plan travel, spending over $100 billion in online travel purchases. And then, the travel industry works very hard to reach prospective travelers, spending, just under $2 billion in online advertising. So who am I targeting? Well, I base my customer profile on research and interviews, interviewing local travel writers and individuals, and then the U.S. Travel Association, Google released travel reports basically stating this pain point and focusing on this core group of travelers aged 30 to 49, making over $50K, educated, that have that expendable income and are traveling the most, which is why I'm focusing on them. And I also know that they're busy individuals with less time to research travel online. Additionally, I'm looking to focus down into content contributors. So of that larger audience, trying to follow a Yelp, Wikipedia, Yahoo Answers model where 2 to 4% really are travel enthusiasts that want to share their knowledge. And my incentive pitch to them is, hey, use TripLark as an SEO marketing tool. Each travel plan features your business name or website, and you can use that to really generate and expand your audience reach. So in terms of attracting, I
have a question for you, Anjali. One second. You are talking about 30 to 49 income over 50K. Mm-hmm. Income over 50K is not a sufficiently tight segmentation.
Okay.
Because 50K to 100K is one segment, 100K to 250K is another segment, 250K above is a totally different segment. These segments travel very, very differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right that I should probably, the data, I picked the income over 40K as my starting point because of the data points that are out there. The Travel Association doesn't break down, they sort of put 50K and above as the higher income bracket, but I totally agree. I'm not targeting luxury travelers like a jet setter model where that's over a 200K. 250K. I'm sort of targeting that middle range of 50 to probably 150K of folks that want to plan their own travel.
Okay, so that's more defined. That would give you a much better handle on exactly what you're you're talking about 75K to 150K.
Got it. Yes.
Okay.
So in terms of customer acquisition for these folks, I'm going to employ a number of different strategies. So one is to engage travel writers and enthusiasts, pitching them with that exposure to new audiences. The second is I'm really focusing on getting the word out about TripLark through guest blog posts. I've written for Forbes.com and Women 2.0. I'm becoming a regular AOL Patch travel blogger, trying to develop a social media presence, influencer marketing, and then really focusing on that viral aspect of the site, testimonials, word of mouth. Niche travel channels, so wedding, fishing, scuba diving, a lot of people passionate in those areas. And then finally, things I haven't tested which are in the long-term plan is paid advertising. Most people, when they begin travel planning, they start with search engines. So the beta site launched in February 2012. It's receiving just under 500 unique users per month, and I'm focusing my priorities in 3 areas. One is to find a technical co-founder and lead. To date, I've used freelancers to build the site, and I know that in order to secure angel funding, I would need to find, a technical expert to join the team. The second is to continue to prove and test the value proposition, and finally, increasing that great content on the site so that I can create a strong community of users that would help me spread the word about TripLark.
And what is the business model of this company?
Well, so right now the model is advertising. So I have affiliate advertising on the site. I formed a revenue share partnership with a travel agency. But that actually brings me to my questions, which is in terms of securing angel funding, do you think it's more important to focus on developing more revenue models? For instance, I have ideas for premium services or subscription services, or is it better to just prove the model and say, okay, here are the different revenue models I would test? So prove the content pain point aspect and then say, here are the revenue models I would test with some funding.
The likelihood of a content site getting funded at this point is minuscule.
Got it.
Because there's way too much unmonetized ad inventory out there, and sites just cannot support themselves with advertising.
Okay, so
and
just
not support themselves with advertising. You're going to need 15, 20 million users per month to be able to get to any reasonable kind of revenue level, and I think the investor community has figured out that these are small bootstrap businesses. These are not financeable businesses, so you have to self-fund this.
Yeah, and which I have done to date. I guess my question is, and I totally understand that for advertising you need mass volumes of audience. So is it better to say, here are my ideas for revenue tests, or is it better to say, just start implementing as many revenue tests as possible to see where I can gain traction so that I put forth a strong business model right away?
First adjustment that you're going to have to make, mental adjustment, is that you're not going to get angel funding.
Okay.
So you're going to have to build this company with the assumption that you're going to bootstrap it for a while.
Yeah.
Because whatever revenue tests you do, it's going to take you some time, because 500 users a month is minuscule, right? 500 users per month, getting that to any reasonable revenue level is going to take you a while. And that, until you get it to some validated revenue model that is scalable, don't even think about financing. There's no chance of financing.
Okay.
And I would say don't hire a technical co-founder. Continue with freelancing. This is not the kind of business where you want to increase your overhead.
Yeah, I mean, if I was finding a technical co-founder, it would just be for an equity stake, not for any. I don't have the bootstrap money I don't have the personal funds to pay them. But I guess I could just continue on with freelancers, try and generate revenue, and then go from there depending on how the site grows.
That would be my advice, is that there's no reason not to continue with freelancers. And, you know, we have case studies of companies that have been built entirely on freelancers. We have a case study. You can go to my blog and find a case study called fineartamerica.com.
Okay.
It's a company that is doing $5 million a year with 3 people.
Got it.
Everything is outsourced. We have another company that's doing $11 million with 7 people. So, I mean, you can build very significant companies in a bootstrap model, but you have to be very diligent and very disciplined about how you're going to generate revenue fairly quickly.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Advertising is not going to be the model that will get you there.
Okay.
You have to come up with other business models.
Okay, and then final question is, from that standpoint, when you are bootstrapped, I mean, for me, then the best way to actually grow that audience is to say the viral piece and make it as easy as possible for people to share. Do you have any other, you know, suggestions or advice on that aspect? Because
there's a whole range of, you know, techniques that we teach in the program, in the 1M1M program, of acquiring customers and cost-effective customer acquisition. So, again, advertising is not your option because you cannot afford to advertise. It's all going to be viral, social, guerrilla techniques, and there's a whole host of them.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Juliet, is she there?
Yep, I think. Yeah. Hello?
Yes, is it Juliet?
Yes, it is. Hello, Sramana. So this is Juliet Oberding, and I'm the founder of Predictably Well, and I'm also an empowered patient with rheumatoid arthritis, an autoimmune disease. Predictably Well is in the early stage of growth, and our focus is in the mobile health market. And in particular, we create products for people with autoimmune diseases and allergies. So the next slide. And as I mentioned before, we help people with autoimmune diseases and allergies, and we help them to forecast their well days. People with both autoimmune diseases and allergies suffer from what we call flares, and these flares occur when a condition is active. The problem with flares is that they wreak havoc with an individual's life. They interfere with human potential. For example, one of our customers has eczema, and if he gets a flare while he's away at work that he has not anticipated and he doesn't have his medicine, he will be extremely uncomfortable for the entire day. So for him, he really wants to be able to know when a flare will occur. He wants to have some kind of advance warning system to let him know when flares will get in the way of his day. So there's a tremendous cost to the individual and society. And as you can see from the slide, the cost in terms of direct costs with respect to medical costs for autoimmune diseases is $100 billion in the U.S., and for allergies, it's $7.3 billion in the U.S. So the next slide, please. And our Good Days, our solution is with respect to mobile health apps. Our Good Days app is on both iOS and Android. We have it available for the iPhone and the iPad. It was just recently released on April 17th. It's specifically for San Diegans with allergies, and the user will check in, click on whether they're having a good, okay, or a bad day, and then the app itself pulls from the geolocation information from the user's device. It pulls from various government data sets, and we take all of that information, what we are calling crowd healing. We take all of that data, we analyze that for patterns using machine learning on the back end. So the idea is really it's benefiting both the individual and collective wellness. We're pulling from the crowd. We're pulling from the individual. We're seeing patterns that can occur with respect to users that have similar qualities or in similar locations suffering some similar illnesses. So next slide. And then our patients, looking at the customer segment, what we're particularly focusing on is what we're calling empowered patients. And these are women 35 to 65. That's also our target group. They're comfortable with technology, social media, online communities, gaming. So when we talk about empowered patients, we're talking about people who want to take an active role in their health, in their life, in taking care of themselves. They're people who are looking for, other than just the standard medical institutions, to find a way to really live with their diseases. So next slide. With respect to customer acquisition strategy, we just recently released our iPhone and iPad app on iOS. We've released it in connection with the San Diego App Challenge. And one of our hopes is to be able to ride on some of the PR, the media attention with respect to this particular app challenge. Our initial focus is to dominate the San Diego local market. Our next steps will then be to be moving forward into Southern California, Orange County, Los Angeles, throughout California, and then to be moving throughout the United States. The reason we're starting local and niching in the local market is because we're starting with local data sets, then we'll be using data sets throughout California and then throughout the U.S.
What is customer acquisition strategy? This is a focus of what geography you're targeting, but what is the customer acquisition strategy?
Well, it's a good question. So what we want to do is really build a movement and to create community. Our focus is on people with autoimmune illnesses. We want to connect with people through local meetup groups, through creating our own groups, and pulling in customers that way, and also through the iPhone app that we have on the Apple Store.
Okay, so you really need to work on customer acquisition strategy.
Yes, that is like one of our key next steps. That's really what we need to be doing right now. And in fact, that's the focus of my questions with respect to the challenges that we have. And then the next slide, customer validation. So we've done some lean customer development strategies. We've met in person with customers. We've done in-person surveys. And what we've found is that in every case that customers, people with autoimmune diseases or with allergies, they want a product that predicts flares. And we've had people tell us that they are willing to give us whatever data we need because they really, really want this product. And so we're going to be continuing in our customer development strategies, continuing to use lean strategies and going out and surveying and connecting with meetup groups. And then the last slide, which is our milestones and challenges.
Hold on. I have a question here. What evidence do you have that your product can actually predict flares? Okay, so that we still have some work that we need to do with working with the customers. So we're using so at this point we don't have that data, okay? We need to have data, from customers. We need a lot of people using the device, and we need to have people that are going to use the device for a period of time or the product for a period of time so we can gain information with respect to observations of daily living and that kind of thing. So all of that will be analyzed through our machine learning background in the product. So what is the evidence that you have that customers are willing to be that patient? You know, one of the observations that I have about consumers is that they want instant gratification, otherwise they're not going to stay with an app.
And that's one of the things that has really puzzled me for the last few months, is really how we're going to get over that particular issue. What I have seen, what we are trying to do is to create an app, and we're going to be reiterating and iterating as we get more customers in, more beta users really is the term, in to work with us on the app to see what they want, to see what will keep them there. I really want to bring in some aspects of gamification. And what I've been seeing with the research is that there's women in the ages of 40 up to 65 are the women that are actually doing online gaming, like with Zynga, with Farmville, and which was really surprising for me when I saw that research. And this is really a market that we need to capture. These are people that we need to connect with, because those are also the same women that are having autoimmune illnesses, not just rheumatoid arthritis, but a lot of different autoimmune illnesses. So that's one of the areas we need to really focus on, and you're right, we need to make it in a way that the customer is going to want to come back and use the product. And that's something that we have to find out.
I see that in April 2012, you already released an app without thinking these things through.
Yes, we did that because there was the San Diego App Challenge, and we wanted to be able to move forward quickly and take advantage of the media that surrounded that, and then to keep reiterating after that. And this is just a 1.0 version. So we will be continuing to work with customers in our beta groups.
And how many customers have you been able to recruit so far?
We only have very few, like under 10.
So I will tell you one thing, is that what you've done is completely contrary to the methodology that we teach in 1M1M.
Okay.
If you go and launch an application without getting enough homework done on exactly how that application is going to be used, what problem is it solving, how do you do the adoption, how do you tackle the adoption issues and so forth, it is completely a wastage of time and energy and money to launch an app. And from just by talking to you, just by asking you 3 questions, I could tell that you haven't thought through these issues. And this is not the time, and this is not the way to launch an app. What is the point of getting an app out there which is not going to get any traction?
And those are all good questions, but this is a strategy that we decided to move forward with, given the opportunity that we had locally, and we really want to work with.
It is a wrong strategy. One should never seek PR without getting at least some idea about what kind of product are you getting out there. And I think your product design, product definition is seriously deficient. We've gone through this with a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, where people go and spend money on developing a minimum viable product and then going and launching it in the market, and it's without doing the homework required to design that product right, to validate the assumptions in the product and so forth. And basically, the money that you spend in developing that product and releasing that product usually is money that goes down the drain.
We actually haven't spent any money at all at this point.
Music to my ears that you haven't spent any money at all.
So all of our developers have volunteered their time, and that was with the connection to this app challenge, this hackathon. So we haven't spent a dime. Other than to.
Very happy to hear that. That's great. That's one of the best news you've given me today.
So looking at the last slide, what we're really looking forward to is everything that you've defined so far is really working clearly to define our customer strategy, to define, to iterate as much as possible, and to continue moving forward with learning what we need to learn. We also want to seek admission to an accelerator. We've been interviewed by Rock Health in San Francisco, and that's something that we're very interested in at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, obviously you need to learn all these. You need to, before customer acquisition, you need to learn the methodology of customer validation. And then you need to learn the methodology of customer acquisition. And you're right, you need to learn what you need to learn and apply those to your business. Otherwise, there's always going to be the danger of doing things in the wrong order and wasting money. So yes, I agree with you. Working with an accelerator or incubator is a good idea for you. You can hang on and listen to the segment that we're going to do later in the show about the 1 million by 1 million accelerator, incubator, whatever you call it. We're a virtual incubator, and see if that serves your purpose. But most definitely, you really need to learn how to put one foot before the other.
Thank you very much.
Until you get the validation piece done right, do not spend money on A, MVP development, and 2, launch. It looks like you've done some kind of development work already with equity resources or volunteer resources, but don't go and spend money on it until you get some real understanding of what is it that you're building and how are you going to gain adoption.
Thank you.
All right, Renee, you're next.
Hi, thank you very much for having me on. Okay, so my company is Donation Match, and we are a charitable marketing website as well as helping nonprofits with their fundraising, specifically through their special events. So we call ourselves a social enterprise, and we're based in San Diego, California. Daryl Reddig happens to be my boyfriend, but is also our technical lead and my co-founder.
By the way, Renee,
yes.
I want to tell you something. If you go to my blog, there's a blog post called Love and Startups. Take a look at that.
Okay.
There was a lot of bias in the industry for a long time about couples being in business together, and investors didn't really like couples being in business together. So this is a post that talks about a number of couples that have built very successful businesses. And earlier on, some time ago, there were a couple of very famous entrepreneur couples. One couple was the founders of Cisco. Another couple was the founders of 3Com, 2 enormous companies that got built by couples. But in general, there was a bias against couples. But now, the industry is full of couples doing businesses together. And so there's a whole bunch of case studies of couples doing businesses together, and you'll find it under the title Love and Startups.
Love and Startups. Okay, great. Thank you very much. That was actually something that I had wondered, because I understood that, and I have been told that, especially if it was a single person that might be getting involved with us, that they did not necessarily want to be the third wheel. So I'll definitely look that up. Thank you very much. So what our website does basically is that we help businesses and the nonprofits, especially the fundraisers, get connected online. And currently, the process of having these in-kind donations that businesses typically might use for marketing, exposure purposes, or simply because they like to be charitable, and give them to special events, the galas, luncheons, silent auctions, festivals, carnivals, that type of thing, is a very manual process. Businesses, of course, want more customers. They want exposure to better customers, which can then bring them more revenue, even added purchases to what they give. They know that in this more socially responsible world now, 94% of consumers are now likely to switch to a company that supports a cause. The businesses typically either receive too few or too many requests. And the ones that receive too few likely feel like they have missed opportunities, or they find out about the opportunities too late. The ones with too many requests, normally that would be, for example, restaurants, have a very difficult way of handling them. They come in through all different channels, from mail, email, calls, in person, what have you. And because it takes so much time to verify and track and then respond to these requests, verifying really meaning that they know that the nonprofit is legitimate and that the person asking for the item is as well. Even the companies that want to do this probably don't do it to the level that they wish they could because it is so labor intensive. On the flip side, for the nonprofits, we're still on the same slide. For the nonprofits, of course, when they're having these events, the more donations they have, the more money they can raise because they're typically sold through the auctions, raffles, things like that. But of course, reaching the decision makers, especially when there are businesses with, the industry has natural attrition, businesses close, contacts change. They don't necessarily have an easy time finding decision makers, especially if they are using volunteers that they just farm out to communities and ask to spread letters. Volunteers typically also don't like doing the procurement. They feel like they're begging. And even if they do it, the return on their time, the driving, just their efforts is usually very low. And of course, even once you have those, the data entry of all of these items into a system to manage the auctions is typically very time consuming. I have personal experience in this area, actually on both sides, but specifically with the data entry, I actually do chair a silent auction every year, and I timed myself this year. It took me, on average, 1 minute per item to input the items that I received through donation match, and it took 6 minutes per item for each item typed in manually. The difference for all of the items at this auction would actually, if all of them were done through either donation match or manually, was basically either 1.5 hours with donation match or 10 hours having to do them manually. So it's a really significant time saving for the nonprofits as well. And of course, that type of data entry is currently done by every single organization with the same item. So there's a lot of waste happening.
And so are you providing the auction as well as part of this exchange?
We are not, simply because that is a whole other product. There are several companies that do that very well. There is software and there are online auctions. We recognize that there are limitations. And they have their own challenges, and we right now are not interested in taking on that project, but we do see them as a potential acquirer of us, simply because
you're basically providing the matchmaking service between the businesses and the nonprofits who are trying to find in-kind donations.
Exactly. And we don't necessarily do the matchmaking. It's a self-service, like a dating site.
Yeah, it's an exchange.
Yes, exactly. So we're simply the place for them to find each other.
Okay.
So basically, our target markets are the small to medium businesses, the ones that are known to give in kind, the ones that offer the most popular items sold at these fundraisers. Specifically, gift certificates are easy to use with us because our system will generate the certificates that can be used. So there's really no work done for the businesses after they approve the donation. Or, there are companies that have residual income or have very little or no cost for their donations that obviously give. Of course, the small and medium businesses are the ones that don't have dedicated staff or the budget to build their own systems to do this. So they would be the ones that normally don't have an organized method or fulfilling, receiving for this type of marketing. But, of course, they value the exposure they get. They have the heart to do this, and they are tech savvy enough to want to manage it online. The nonprofit market for us really is just the ones that are recognized as tax exempt by the IRS, have special events for fundraisers, which is 80% of them, and of course want the donations and have somebody who's willing to go online to fund them, which of course that market is growing. So basically our total available market, as you see, I simply put the number of matches, not the actual dollar values for them yet, just because we have not been charging for our service until now. So the actual numbers from 2011 and 2012 up until last week are done for free. And we anticipate having updating our website, hopefully, for saying this, in a couple of weeks, so that we will be adding our pricing model to it, which has been published since the beginning of the year. So anybody joining us,
model?
Basically, we plan to attach a match fee to every completed match transaction, and that will basically be collected from whichever party decides to make the first move. We expect that to be the nonprofit most of the time because they're the ones with the time urgency and the biggest need. But businesses may also see events that they want exposure in and be able to offer that as well. There will be ways for them to earn those free match credits through referrals or other methods, but we simply want to tie our success to the success of the transaction.
And do you have any validation on that assumption that the people are willing to pay for these matches?
Simply by talking to people, the biggest response I get when they ask me how we make money is that when I tell them it's $5, they say, wow, that's it? I've never heard anyone tell me it's too much. And in fact, compared to really part of the way we price it as well is that nonprofits are used to paying normally between $500 to $1,000 for a system to help them manage these types of auctions. So keeping our price point within that range, thinking that there are an average of 100 items at nonprofit events, will put our price point at about the $500 range. So it's something that they likely will be willing to pay for because this is not simply a service they're buying. It actually is something that will bring them more income. So as long as it's...
Oh, got it. So what about, why do you have this projections with salesperson? This is an online exchange. What is the salesperson doing here?
Well, basically, through our experience over the last year, we have found that and this probably speaks more to the next page, the customer acquisition page, acquiring business customers seems to be more difficult in doing outreach. We have not been able to do as much outreach to industry associations, specifically in those target markets, and that's what we plan to do. However, neither I nor my co-founder have a sales background, and so it's been more difficult for us to acquire businesses than nonprofits. And
one thing that you have to make an adjustment here, Renee, is a business like yours is going to be, the customer acquisition strategy is more marketing oriented than sales oriented. Okay. So adding a salesperson is not how you're going to market this business. You're going to have to roll out a variety of techniques of, grassroots marketing into businesses, but you're going to have to figure out how to learn. One of you, or either you or your co-founder, will need to learn how to do those kinds of guerrilla marketing techniques.
Right. Right.
And there's a variety of them. We'll talk a little bit about some of these techniques later on in the presentation of what all you need to learn, both yourself and Anjali, and those of you who are dealing with this customer acquisition problem in particular, Juliet. We're going to talk about what you need to learn in more specific details. I'm just getting a feel for where you are and where the gaps are, and I'll address those in a more broad way after I've listened to all of you. Okay. But each of you are going to need to invest some energy in learning these both customer validation techniques and customer acquisition techniques, especially the guerrilla methods of it.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So, yes, right now the customer acquisition has been slow. It's taken a lot of hands-on time with the businesses. But we have gotten as far as we have with the grassroots techniques, and at least the customers that we have, as you can see, have been happy with that. Yes, they do.
How many businesses are transacting on your exchange right now?
We have about 30 businesses on our system right now. 18 of them were active this month. So it has some slow, but they are being active. I'm sorry.
What kinds of businesses are these?
Oh, actually, it's a variety of them. We have fitness centers. We have meal delivery services, massage therapists, personal trainers, a vodka company.
What about restaurants, travel, the categories that you said? I mean, those are the ones that make for the most attractive auctions, high-end restaurants and interesting travel destinations.
Yes, we have not acquired any travel customers yet, but the dining, the meal delivery service, we consider dining. It's a substitute for a restaurant, I suppose.
Not the same. You're going to have to do some targeted customer acquisition, programs to get the right kinds of businesses on your system, and I think that will be a key to getting this piece right.
Yes. Okay. Well, actually, that is what we were planning on doing, which is why I have been speaking with people I do know in restaurant marketing and hotel management. So I'm glad to hear that we're on the right track there.
Yes. The whole thing, an exchange is successful when you have a seeding of what really people are looking for on both sides of the exchange, right? You know the nonprofits are looking for high-end restaurants to let them auction tables off.
Right. Yeah.
And you know that nonprofits are looking for good travel destinations. These are things that you know already from just being in this business. We all kind of know this from our, interactions with nonprofits and auctions and so forth. So you know that those are two categories. I mean, there are other categories as well, but you need to identify what are the most popular categories that nonprofits use for auctions, and you need to do targeted customer acquisition strategies in each of those categories.
Okay, great.
And then on the other side, the nonprofits are going to come together when they see that the kinds of things that they're looking to auction off are coming together on your exchange.
Right, exactly, which is really why we are focused more on business acquisitions than nonprofit, because even with simply the grassroots efforts, we have over 200 nonprofits already registered on our site, some from all over the country that we are unsolicited really except through maybe social media. So obviously there's a need there.
Yep.
So okay.
You don't even think about expanding into any other cities, remote salespeople, none of that, because salespeople is not how you're going to do this. You're going to have to do this with marketing.
Okay. Okay.
And
so
that's an entirely different way of going to market than the way you're thinking about it. We need to talk about some of that. And then on the investment topic, and again, this is I want to address it broadly for many of you who are thinking about angel investment, or even in some cases getting into incubators and accelerators that are offering seed money. The bar is very high these days. Investors, including the investors who are operating through incubators and accelerators, want to see a lot of validation work and a lot of bootstrapping work already done. By the time you go to one of these people, you need to be fairly mature for them to want to accept you into a program or want to invest in you. So you're going to have to find other ways of learning those techniques and strategies that will make you credible and attractive in the eyes of people who are willing to give out money. So I will talk more about how we can help you get there, but let's listen to Valerie first, who is the last presenter today, and then we're going to talk in more detail about how you guys can bridge the gap between where you are and angel investors, incubators, accelerators who are giving out money. Valerie?
Hi, Sramana. How are you? We happened to meet in Bangalore a couple weeks ago. Not sure if you remember.
Yes, I do. Go ahead.
Yeah. I started this company 2 years ago with a co-founder, Amiya Pathak. For those on the phone, I'm based in Bangalore, India. So we both have backgrounds in consumer web and consumer mobile technology. I myself am not an engineer, but have always been in technology startups and technology companies. And Amiya is, hardcore, computer science expert, and was instrumental in building India's largest gaming platform. So we complement each other well in that regard. So what we've created at ZipDial is a platform for consumers to engage with businesses through an absolute simple means based on over the mobile. So take, for example, responding to an ad. The types of call to action you might see in an ad today are a 1-800 number or sending an SMS or a QR code. In a market like India especially, all of those things have a lot of friction. In particular, something like an SMS or a QR code, only 25% of consumers in India even send SMS at all. So what we've done is created, and it's always, anything on the mobile is always charging the consumer. So there's a lot of friction in that experience, from savviness of using the phone as well as the charged nature of it, the cost element of it. So we said, let's turn that business model upside down. Let's make it free to the consumer, and let's monetize from businesses. So what we're selling is a solution where consumers can engage with businesses and brands, whether it be responding to an ad or leaving customer feedback, which are the two examples that I mentioned there. All the consumer has to do is dial the number. So dialing a number is the simplest thing you can do on any phone. It works across, works for anybody speaking any language, whether it's a feature phone or a smartphone, et cetera. The call rings once, disconnects automatically, so the consumer is not charged, and then an SMS is sent back. Typically, an SMS is sent back to the consumer, confirming the interaction. So what we've seen is, with all of our customers, anywhere from minimum doubling their response rates from consumers to 50 times more or higher the number of responses compared to other types of engagement mechanisms.
So, another question here. Is this the ZipDial number that you are offering here, if interested in Dr. Batra, ZipDial, blah, blah, blah? So where is the consumer finding this? This is an ad somewhere that they're encountering, or is it another SMS marketing that's going out to them?
So if we go to the next slide, that gives a sense of that. Yeah. So if you see at the bottom there, the idea is that the business is doing marketing. Whether I'm a large business or a small business, I'm doing marketing. I want to maximize the return on that. I want to maximize the consumer engagement. So include a ZipDial number and turn any media, whether it's print or outdoor billboards, into an interactive media by using a ZipDial number. So really, so we're creating
essentially an ad.
Yeah, as the simplest kind of use case. So the kind of top-down market sizing above that captures that spend on call to actions in ads. So in India alone, $22 billion spent on ads. About 5% of that is our total addressable market, which is the percentage of media spend that goes towards this type of call to action or engagement. And yeah, but that's the simplest starting point. And the thing that we do, sort of the first thing we typically do for a customer. And the interesting thing as we'll go beyond that is that this is one wallet that we're tapping into. And there are a variety of other wallets that the customer has, whether it's from an operations standpoint or a customer's feedback standpoint that we're also tapping into. So here's a couple of our customers on the right-hand side, some of the larger names. So primarily consumer goods, consumer durables, some financial services, e-commerce, and media companies. Those are the larger customers. If we go ahead and keep going.
What kind of deal sizes, when you work with a Kingfisher, how much money do you make off a Kingfisher deal?
So a Kingfisher type customer is, so I will talk about our customer segmentation there. The beauty of the platform is that we are, a clear thing is we're not a services business. We're not just customizing, marketing campaigns for these businesses. This is all a platform that is highly scalable and can even be self-service for small businesses. So they come to zipdial.com, pick a ZipDial number, go live in 2 minutes, pay online, done. So at the large end of the spectrum, sorry?
What is the business model?
So the businesses pay us for use of the service, typically based on a subscription plus volume fees. So a subscription for the service plus a per response fee or per ZipDial fee.
Okay.
And it's, so for large businesses like this, we're targeting, there's some, kind of key accounts that I will be, where we've achieved this with some of them, but not, but the target is that per month we should be making $10,000 a month from them. One customer is close to that so far, and that's Procter & Gamble, mostly through the Gillette brand. Though a number of these other customers, which are not these multi-brand conglomerate type companies, are going to be more in a $2,000 a month kind of bucket.
Okay.
So anywhere between $2,000 and $10,000 a month are these types of large business customers. Beyond that, there's I'll say what we were originally targeting was these large customers, and then also, meanwhile, building the platforms for SMEs to have a self-service opportunity. There, the basic starting price for a basic package is $20 a month. The average revenue we're getting from small business customers who are self-service right now is $60 a month. Actually, 65 is what we're hitting, and that has really ramped up over the last 9 months or so.
Now, this is largely a B2C marketing mechanism, right?
The businesses themselves are doing consumer marketing, and we are a B2B service, though,
so
yeah.
Let me stay with me for a second. What I'm trying to get at is, what is a bottom-up TAM analysis of this business? Have you done a bottom-up?
Yes. Yeah, all of our projections are actually based on kind of bottoms-up analysis. So that's using the $2,000, it's not in these slides, but it's using the $2,000 target for large businesses, a $500 target for mid-sized businesses, and a $40 a month target for the small businesses. And based on how we are growing those segments over time and where we're investing in our customer acquisition, that builds up to, so targeting $1 million in revenue in this financial year.
What is the TAM? What is the bottom-up TAM?
The bottom-up TAM is, so how I've worked on, how we've thought through that is really looking at the kind of benchmarks. So basically growing projections for, given how productive our salesperson can be and how much business a given salesperson can drive, whether they're…
Valerie, you're confusing your revenue model and revenue projections with total available market. Those are two completely different things. I'm asking the…
Right. So I'll just jump to the point. So basically, I have not done a bottoms-up TAM per se, but I've done a bottoms-up projection, which is kind of the first thought process, and then benchmarking that against, does the market actually support this, given other benchmarks such as how many customers does IndiaMart have, IndiaMart.com, how many SMEs are there in India, how many customers are on IndiaMart, how many customers have been acquired by Yahoo Small Business, et cetera. So using that as realistic benchmarks and to kind of sanity check the projections.
So I would take that all the way and do the TAM analysis, because you're going to need that to make a lot of decisions, business decisions going forward. So I think we've gone over all this. You've already told me about the subscription pricing and the based pricing. Where do you want to go next?
So this is, you can skip that slide. Yeah.
Questions.
Yeah, so the one, right, okay. So given that we, for example, as we were talking about, there's really three sizes of customer segments we're focusing on. Those large enterprises, the SMEs who are self-sign-up, and what has organically grown from those self-sign-up customers are a mid-market size customer, which we weren't originally targeting, but now are between a $500 to $1,000 a month kind of rate. So that's essentially three sizes across about 6 different industries, ranging from consumer goods to financial services to retail to media. So the question is about focus, and because it's working across these different segments. We have very happy customers. We have 95% retention rate. We have 63% of our customers who are signed up for 6 months or a year, not just monthly basis. ARPUs are growing. They're taking on new services, all of these things. So it's working, but the question is, how do we make sure we stay focused, particularly given that in the short term, we're leveraging, we know that the large business, that large enterprise market gives us attractive revenue up front. It also helps establish ZipDial as a brand, because every time Kingfisher or Pepsi or Cadbury says ZipDial this number in their ads, gee, that's a whole lot of free marketing for us. Plus, that is helping us build data assets and intelligence on all of these millions of ZipDialers or users over time. So we're kind of building up all of these assets while getting paid, so that's good. But really, that large enterprise segment is not a big enough market to be interesting, and really it's about growing the SME, the small business and medium-sized business market in a highly scalable way.
What is the TAM for the large segment, large enterprise segment?
So in terms of, well.
All right, so let me ask you.
It's really a question of scale as well.
Valerie, hold on. Let me not put you on the spot. This is homework you need to do. You need to assess the TAMs on each of the segments. The pieces of information that I need to help you make these decisions, one is, what are the TAMs for each of the segments that you're going after? What are the sales cycles of each of these segments? Because you have to weigh sales cycle versus how much money you're making, because if there's a lot of quick money from the smaller size markets, then that could be also very interesting. So I need to understand how much revenue are you doing, where is that revenue coming from, how does that split segment-wise, what are the sales cycles of each of these segments, and what are the TAMs on each of these segments. If you can bring me that information, I can resolve this for you.
Yeah, so I know the sales cycles on the so basically 80% of our revenue today is coming from large businesses. Sales cycles, highly variable, range between, I've sold some deals in the first meeting and some take 4 months, but I would say average 2 months. Interestingly, the conversion time seems to be not all that shorter for self-sign-up customers. They'll come sign up for a free trial and then go through a nurturing period, and maybe 2 months later finally pay the $20 or $40. So the small business segment is, we've been mostly focused on building the right processes, systems, getting the platform in place to be able to scale that up. So today that's 20% of revenue versus the 80% from the smaller number of large customers.
So I think you answered my question. I just instinctively I know that there is enough business in the large customer segment for you to build this up further for a while and build a cash base and build your brand. I think this is a kind of thing that having Kingfisher use Zip Dial or having Cadbury use Zip Dial is actually very much in your favor. So then
it sure is a fight sometimes to get them to do that.
I would focus on the large customers, I think, for the time being, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. And I think that we had some experiments early on where we even stretched to an even smaller customer and very quickly realized that that was not a viable model. But it's
not
still
spend a lot of. I would be opportunistic about the small businesses, but I would spend my real energy of building a business on the enterprise customers.
Yeah, the good thing is, keeping in mind the small business customer, or let's say not small business, but self-service. So while we treat our customers with extremely high quality of customer service, we are a product company, and we will be a product company, and the standards are that the product should be able to sell itself, and we're not using services and customization and hand-holding as a workaround to a top-class product. So from that perspective, everything we've been building in terms of the technology from the small business side is also used by the large businesses, though it may be
good architecture.
I'm sorry?
It's just good architecture.
Yeah, and good business practice as well, not to customize one-off things, but to strategically decide, no, we're not doing this campaign, or yes, we're doing that campaign, depending on how scalable it is, depending on how replicable it is.
Okay, got it. So you've got your answer to the first question. What's the second question?
The second question is about managing, because there are, particularly when it comes to the future of the company and who we eventually, might be interesting to from an acquisition standpoint. They're predominantly U.S. companies. Google, Facebook, Amazon, for example. And being in India and focused mostly on India right now, while we do have some presence in the Caribbean through a partner there, we're mostly India focused. And, I worry that is a risk, not to be more connected, not to have some presence or some solution in the U.S. Never want to spread too thin. We definitely are thinking about international only opportunistically right now, and we'll only think about that from a more aggressive strategy standpoint in about 12 months. But I feel like it's important to stay connected there in ways that are strategic, and not sure where to put my time to get the biggest value out of that.
So let me ask you the question, are you asking about investors? Are you asking about partners? Are you asking about markets? Because I think there are all sorts of questions in here. There are multi-layered questions in here.
Yeah, I think investors is actually not, so we have, for context, we raised a seed round in a little over a year ago and raised an additional bridge on that more recently. So from a funding standpoint, we wanted to just take on just barely enough to get to break even, and then we're sustainable and in a very different position if we wanted to raise again or what have you. So investors is less important, more about, I'd say ultimately it's more about our future acquisition. And from that perspective, it's you could say partners, because there are, for example, solutions that we're working on, collaborating on with Intuit and Google and, as two that have evolved more, but there are others as well.
I'm not convinced that this is what Google would acquire or Facebook would acquire or Amazon would acquire.
Why is that?
I mean, why do you say that? Why is this something that, why is it that those are the most strategic acquirers for this? I don't see necessarily that this is what they're going to be acquiring.
So really what we're building is, today, ultimately what we're building is a platform that has a whole lot of intelligence about consumers' behaviors, preferences, what ads are you responding to, did you enjoy your experience with this company or that company. So there's an immense amount of data that we're building up on people's interests and behaviors and purchasing patterns, et cetera. That is the real asset, that channel that we've created, and the intelligence in that whole platform is what is interesting to these types of companies. It's not about a clever tool that enables businesses to get higher ROI on their ads. It's more about the intelligent platform we're building that's very simple for consumers to use and compelling for consumers to use, and businesses also benefit from being part of the platform.
See, here's what the feedback I have for you, which you need to take into account, is I think your thought process about who's likely to acquire you is very simplistic right now. Because the way the ecosystem is evolving, there are whole new companies coming up with very substantial sized businesses that are in the social media marketing, mobile marketing, online marketing domains. And you are just Google, Facebook, and Amazon, but I mean, if you look at a company called Wildfire, that company is going to be a $100 million company in short order, and a much larger company in a slightly longer term. By the time you come up for acquisition, there's going to be a whole set of players that are potentially much more relevant and much more synergistic with you than just these. Because the thing that you need to keep in mind is when Google looks at an acquisition, it has a lot of options. What you are doing may not be the most strategic thing for Google to acquire today, so you need to broaden your thought process about who are the likely acquirers for your company.
Okay.
So you need to understand the ecosystem of who's doing what in your space or in related spaces at a much more granular level.
Okay.
And start spotting who are likely acquirers, and then maybe doing something. Once you have that ecosystem map in front of you, it'll be easier for you to determine where to invest your energy in terms of partners, strategic partners, and so forth.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. That's a really good point. I think we've done some of that, but only for the sort of obvious names that I've mentioned among that's maybe five.
Your thought process about acquisitions and strategic partnership right now is very simplistic. It needs to become a lot more sophisticated. Okay, so let's actually get to the next segment. I'm going to talk to you about, many of you asked various different questions about how you can learn this, how you can learn that. I've grilled many of you on TAM and why TAM is important. Let me walk you through a few more overview issues that you need to keep in mind, and you guys can ask questions after I'm done with. It'll take me about 7 minutes to go through this segment, and we'll open up the public chat for Q&A after that. So before we dive into that segment, one request I have for all of you is that the 1 million by 1 million mission can only be successful if we can have serious entrepreneurs with the real work ethic and the resilience and the capacity to learn to come and join the program. So we are very much, if you find what we are doing useful and helpful, please bring serious entrepreneurs into 1M1M, and that's something we would appreciate very much. All right. So the site 1M1M is at 1m1m.sramanamitra.com. Here's a set of resources that you can refer to in your quest to plug the gaps in your respective businesses. The first thing is my blog. There are tons of case studies, and these are all freely available for you to refer to. And today, some of you have asked about funding, right? And I have said that this business is not fundable. Now, don't take that as necessarily a discouraging feedback, because all that is that you are going to have to think about a different strategy of building your business. There's a simple thing that you have to understand, that the only types of businesses that are fundable in terms of institutional funding, and this is venture capital or angel investment that kind of is a precursor to venture capital. This is what we call as a broad category institutional financing. Institutional financing requires that you're going after an incredibly fast growth, very large market opportunity. So the reason I harp on TAM so much, I'm asking all of you, what is the TAM? What is the what is the business model? And the way we do bottom-up TAM analysis is by using the business model assumptions and the pricing model assumptions, and then roll up to a bottoms-up TAM analysis, and that's what determines whether you should be going for financing or not, or whether you are financeable or not. This is an assessment that all of you need to make. If you assume that you're going to raise financing somehow and your business fundamentally and structurally is not a fundable business, then you're going to basically run up and hit against the wall continuously, and that is not a productive way to build a business. There are many ways of building businesses. You can get friends and family financing. You can get customer financing. The best kind of financing is actually customer financing. And you can build very sizable businesses by bootstrapping. The strategies are different. Like I gave you earlier the case study of fineartamerica.com that is doing $5 million a year with 3 employees. And how do they do it? They outsource a humongous amount of their work. There's not a penny of outside financing in this company. So some of you who are looking at business opportunities that may not be humongous business opportunities could still give you incredibly interesting businesses that you need to learn how to build by following different strategies than assuming some investor is going to fund you. And the reason I'm giving you this long spiel on financing is that there's a ton of myths and misconceptions and wrong assumptions around that, and we are seeing a lot of business failure because entrepreneurs are following these incorrect assumptions and going down a path that is bound to end in a failure. So please don't go down these dead ends. So the blog series has lots of case studies of bootstrapped entrepreneurs. I have a book actually that focuses entirely, the 4-volume Entrepreneur Journeys book series. One of the volumes is dedicated to bootstrapping. It's called Bootstrapping Weapon of Mass Reconstruction. And in every volume actually I've tackled the topic of bootstrapping and lean startups and capital efficient startups in quite a bit of details. So all the books are available on Amazon and Kindle internationally, and in India you can get them books through Flipkart. The other cornerstone philosophy that we follow in 1M1M is positioning. You know, some of you today I've talked to you about segmentation. You know, there are a variety of different points in positioning that you need to keep in mind as you develop your business strategy. Only by positioning your company very sharply and very precisely can you actually do a lean startup. And the methodology that we believe in and that we practice and preach is the lean startup methodology. So the blog is at sramanamitra.com, and the 1M1M website is 1m1m.sramanamitra.com. As you know, we also do these free strategy roundtables every week almost, every Thursday generally. At this time, 8 a.m. Pacific time is our regular time. This is our 124th roundtable. We've been around. We've been doing this for a long time. You know, thousands of people have attended these sessions. Actually, hundreds of entrepreneurs have been using these forums to get feedback and iterate and improve on their businesses. On top of that, we have a full virtual incubation program. And we only charge a $1,000 annual membership fee for extensive methodology guidance. We have a full curriculum delivered through video lectures and case studies. We help you with business development, connecting the dots to customers, channel partners, and we help you with private versions of these roundtables, which is our form of delivering scalable strategy consulting, management consulting, and we help you with financing. If and when you're in a fundable stage, we will connect you with investors and help you negotiate your terms with investors. So we do a lot of connecting the dots for our entrepreneurs. I recommend that all of you take the 1M1M self-assessment. It's on the site. And it's a 9-point questionnaire that walks you through the various different points where you need to get clarity. And if you're a premium member, you have access to curriculum modules that teach you how to do each of those pieces right. The other pointers I have is if you go to the site, there's on the top right corner, there's a premium program place and an FAQ tab. And there are video messages. Those are places you can find more information about the program, what to expect from the program. And again, we will always keep you focused on this lean, capital-efficient, bootstrap startup methodology. We do not want you to waste money on developing stuff and launching stuff without doing enough homework so that you use whatever capital you have available, whatever resources you have available very efficiently. And the pieces that we teach you in the program are split into 2 broad categories. We teach you a core curriculum, which comprises of bootstrapping, positioning, market sizing, customer validation, financing, customer acquisition, and team building. Now note that team building strategies are different if you're going for financing versus if you are bootstrapping a company. If you're bootstrapping a company, we actually teach you very extensive methodologies for using freelance resources. And there are a variety of reasons why that is important. And those are things that you need to keep in mind, especially when you're bootstrapping a company. In elective modules, we teach about businesses and business categories, strategies that are particularly relevant to the trends that we're seeing in the market today. So Web 3.0 and e-commerce is very big. There will be 5 billion people on the internet by 2020. So the market, the opportunity for building web businesses is humongous. Cloud computing, we do a lot of work in cloud computing. Outsourcing and consulting continues to be a huge business still today. And the solopreneur, freelancing, and all these categories have become very big categories. We have a specific thread called $1 Million Freelancers. And we have lots of case studies of companies that are building $1 million businesses just by freelancing. And that's, again, there are techniques of building such businesses. There are methodology of building such businesses. We teach you that. Mobile and social apps is very big. It is a tremendous category right now. Healthcare, IT, online education are also huge categories. Healthcare, IT, and online education, we're also seeing a lot of activity in both web apps as well as mobile apps, iPad apps, iPhone apps, and so forth. Gaming is also very big. So all of those categories we have specific curriculum modules on. And the way we deliver the curriculum is with case studies of several hundred successful entrepreneurs. We have brought together on this forum hundreds of successful entrepreneurs who have taken the time to share their success stories, success strategies, the mechanics of how they've become successful, and they're using this forum to teach what they have learned. And what we have done is I have recorded video lectures synthesizing some of what they are teaching. So you will find these curriculums delivered as video lectures and case studies very inspiring to learn from these hundreds of successful entrepreneurs and their journeys. So that's pretty much what I have now. This, we also have an affiliate program, by the way, for 1M1M Premium. This may be something that, Felina, you should look at, a model that we're using in working with companies like yours, you know, incubators and you know, workspaces and so forth, is the affiliate program, and we pay 10% affiliate commission. So if you're signing up 1 million by 1 million members through premium members through the through your program, you could consider becoming a 1M1M affiliate, and whoever else is in the audience who is in that kind of a position is welcome to look at that as well. Our next 3 free roundtables are May 3rd, May 10th, and then May 31st. I will be in UK and Europe we have a big launch in the UK with a major media company, UK's largest media company, that I have to be in London for. So we have actually live events in London the 3rd week of May actually. May 22nd is an event at Tech Hub London. So those are kind of some of the things that are coming up. And one thing I want to remind you is that we do have the Blue Slap ELAN scholarship program going on right now. So if you are in a subscription business or in some sort of a transaction business, commerce business, you're very welcome to apply for that. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or comments, you're welcome to use the public chat. We are kind of at the very end of the session. We try to finish the session by 9:30, so it's already 9:31 a.m. So I don't want to spend too much time on Q&A today. We've covered a lot of material with a lot of entrepreneurs today. But I will give you a minute to go ahead and ask at least 1 or 2 questions if you would like to. Please feel free to use the public chat, folks. Anybody? All right, looks like nobody has any questions. If you need to reach someone at 1M1M, please call Irina. Her Skype is Irina_Patterson, and her cell number is 786-301-2456. And we look forward to hearing from you, and we will be back with you next week at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating. Bye-bye. Have a good